Because that was, now do that again, Bruce. That was one of the best things you've done in all these years. Now, Divya, we are 2 minutes early. You're not here, and you don't know why Bruce wrote that live thing and put it up. But I'll tell you, it was to frighten Ian.
It's always to frighten me.
That was
Kind of like a
brilliant.
cable.
That was really, really good. Well, here we are then, and it seems that India gives with one hand and takes with another.
I'm going to get
As
my
it,
tea. You carry on. I'll be back now.
you can get your tea. I did start early.
We'll talk amongst ourselves.
Yeah, we'll talk about. I'll have to show this to Louis. Louis wasn't here. Show Louis. I started early because Ian got frightened by Bruce. He put this live thing up because Ian was telling us a thing that he didn't want to get out. That was very good. Good evening. We're going to have to get you in, Malikajan, to tell us how to say your name from India. Yes, you're going to have to get us in. Because, in fact, send me an email. We'll get you on because I want your view on. I think what India is doing, removing the requirement for a license. That's great. Trying to protect purely Indian-made drones. I'm not sure that's a clever idea.
Is it different from the USA?
Because it's illegal to own a DJI anything over there now without written permission. That's how.
Sorry, say that again.
You can't own it if you haven't been given permission by the government to have it. You can't have any Chinese or any not just Chinese, any non-Indian made equipment now, and
contraband.
I can see why, and it's already in effect. It came in effect on the 9th, I think.
So do people have to surrender their drones, or what happens if you own one and you're breaking the law?
I don't know. They drop their. Go on.
What about flight controllers? Does that have to be Indian?
No, there was a parts of, wasn't it? I've forgotten the exact wording, but there was. If it's made of enough parts, then it's okay. But then you could only import enough to make a maximum of 5, and it had to be for experimental purposes.
And you can't make them from beef. You can't use beef.
No.
So you can only import, for example, you can only
5 flight controllers. Yeah.
5 cubes. So you can only import 5 cubes, for example.
Yeah.
And then you have to literally use them for R&D only. What happens when you're done with them?
You have to have permission to use that one you've built up as well. So you'd have to have permission to sell it on, and it's only always had flaws. Yeah, but don't you think that this one in particular has? It's difficult. I think it was probably very much pushed by people that have skin in the game. That's a phrase we use for other things. Very much wanted to be the manufacturers, but they're now going to sell way overpriced gear that doesn't do half what other stuff can do. Hello, Anthony.
That means we'll starting to have the Tata drone. So
they already sell them, or are starting to sell them, but they're never going to catch up with all due respect to India. They're at least 10 years behind DJI.
Come on. Now, come on. Now that you're sponsored on Suez News by DJI, everybody's behind DJI. Come on, Gary.
Am I? When did that happen? Well, in India, actually, between China and India, each week, the number one country that comes to SCS News is America. And then it's a toss-up week by week between India and China. It fluctuates between the two. So there's a lot of people looking from India, that's for sure. But could they use the blue cube? Well, Tom, yes, it does say allied nations. But
US allied of India? I heard that last time I checked, India was a non-aligned country. So...
What about Pakistan?
Oh, God.
Whoa,
shut up.
Step back from the line.
Well, so as I say, they give with one hand and take with another. They've got rid of the pilot licensing requirement, but now you can't have the drone.
You see, you don't need a license because there won't be any drones.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it. That's exactly
I
it.
wonder what they did with all the stock that was in the country. So you imagine you've got a shop, you've
No.
got DJI stock.
Yeah. No, just out of the blue on the 9th, it was last week sometime, wasn't it? They said, nope, that's it, and it's enforced now. So
that's what they do with guns. It's like the gun situation in New Zealand. These guns are illegal. You've got to hand them in or get rid of them. You can't own them anymore. And it's happened all over the world with firearms. So why would drones be any different?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like someone over there is saying, drones are a weapon. He has a website that claims that all the time.
Yeah.
Well, America wouldn't mind it. America will never change them because obviously you can't give up a gun in America. So you wouldn't give up a drone either, would you?
Well, I think they're again. I wish we could. Did you fancy joining us? Can I send you an email? Forced by Indian manufacturers. Yeah, is it Indian If I send you, if I can send you the link, would you fancy joining us and telling us the situation from India? Because we're just making it up because we're not in India. But it does feel like manufacturers. It also feels like a bit of a sly security thing, and the government might think, oh well, we don't want people to see whatever we're doing.
Well,
so are they banning Toyota pickups and only having Mahindras now?
Well, that's the always argument, isn't it?
Yeah, but
come on, Bruce. That's why you have in India Tata and Toyota pickups are just like a Sherman tank. So,
but
don't worry.
You've got to remember as well, China and India do have border issues. So maybe that's something to do with it because they're scared of the data going.
I don't think it's the data side of things. And remember, Parrot are in this equation, and Blue. Tom mentioned Blue SUS, but I'm not even sure they get in easily. I can't see this situation lasting long, and I suspect it will disappear piece by piece, very slowly over the next couple of years. I can't see it being sustained.
What usually happens is a law that is never enforced and is enforced selectively when they feel like it. So they have the law and enforce it whenever they want to.
Yeah, that's all. Yeah, very true. Very true.
It'll be some advisor, won't it? It'll be some lobbyist, some advisor close to the government who's thought of this wonderful idea to, and the government thinks, oh, that is a good idea, we'll do it, and suddenly realise, oh, crap.
Yeah, no, I can't see it happening. But that is potentially the biggest news, I think, in the last.
Isn't India part of the Commonwealth? So that will be transferred that law also to UK. Commonwealth.
Let me see if I can find.
Might transfer to Canada. Canada's terrible at the moment, so they'll probably not take that up.
We'll have Ian and Mark flying sticks and stones instead of DJI drones.
All right, we can actually get his real name. He's going to join us from India. So let's get the. While we're doing that, what else can we talk about while I'm getting a message to him? So Bruce has been banned. That's what we can talk about. So you started a new channel and you got shut down instantly.
Yeah, because I dared to deviate from the narrative. I dared to suggest that people should have a choice and that we should respect other people's choices. That's not the YouTube way. It's our way or the highway. So I've started a channel on Odyssey. Yes, I'm on Odyssey, and we'll see what happens with that.
Ian told me to go on that. Is that still a thing?
I saw the new channel. So what's happened? I've missed this. It's got taken down.
Well, one of the videos I put a video up because people keep asking me, what's your situation on vaccination? And I said, well, I'm triple vaxxed. It's my choice. And and this is going to get Gary's channel taken down. But I believe that
Again.
everybody is entitled to make their own choice. I crunched my numbers. Your numbers may be different, and I made my choice. But the big thing we have to remember is that people are entitled to make these choices in a free society, and we must respect their choices. You can't criticize someone for having an opinion that's different to yours. You must protect their right to hold that opinion. And that's basically the bottom line of my video. And no, it was medical misinformation, apparently.
Oh God, come on, Bruce. A free society. That ship has sailed a long time ago.
So here's the thing, though, Bruce. So what about people? Because obviously you did the maths. You go, and the same as me, and I suppose other people. You get
Hang
the
on,
odds
hang
are,
on,
right?
hang on.
Just a minute.
I just went with a very basic odds.
Go cancel your own channel. Sorry, go cancel your own channel. Don't cancel this.
And mine as well again. And I tell you, the other person I wanted to pop up tonight was Philip. Philip, hurry up and pop up in the comments, because not only has he got that little thing, which is it's going to be the light thing. I can't remember what they've called it, but he's also bringing out a rover, which I want to see, this little STEM rover. So hurry up, Philip.
Did you see an Australian drone light show was cancelled because CASA wouldn't give approval? It was at Adelaide, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
it
was $100,000 or $300,000 of this light show, and it got cancelled because CASA wouldn't provide them with permission.
That's interesting, because they did Melbourne and what's his name?
Apparently it's too close to the airport.
That's interesting. That's very interesting, because the other ones that were there were very close to airports. Now, what's Louis got on his hand there? Oh, hotel. Surely.
Yes.
He's not saying anything. Is it any good? Is the question.
This thing is as the best screen I've ever seen on the field. Absolutely amazing. Software.
Really?
Yeah. Software.
Has it got nits?
2000.
I've been very kindly lent one of the new Evo Nanos as well. It'll be here probably tomorrow, actually. So it'll be interesting to take a look at that. Obviously, it's not compatible with that smart controller.
No.
But I'm seeing some good things. They've had a bit of noise this week. I don't know if you guys have seen, there's been a somewhat recall on the gimbal mounts on the new drones. There's been a bit of noise about it.
Which new drones?
This is on the Nano series. So there's a problem with the rubber mounts that are causing vibration on footage. But that's the basics of it. So rather than the footage being nice and smooth, what seems to be is the mounts are compressing and not uncompressing, and it's holding the camera sort of tight to the frame, and any vibration is making it through. So they've done a bit of a small recall campaign where they're saying to people, if yours isn't right, send it in. We'll just fix it. It's not affecting everyone. There are ones that are shipping now that shouldn't have the problem. They caught it a little bit later on. There's been a bit of hoo-ha about it on social media, to say the least, with I think one or two people taking it too far. I'm going to be very careful because I don't want to upset any other people, but I do. Okay. I like upsetting people, though. But all I said, look, if you have a problem with the company, that's fine, but don't go after the staff. And what it seems to have happened in this is there's one or two people who are targeting the staff and doing, I'm not going to say unsavory things, but there's some people there I've known them for a long time. They worked at DJI, and taking their picture and posting it up on your social media page, having a go at Autel is not on. You never go after the person. The person is the messenger. And frankly, it's my opinion, it's done for clickbait, hype, and to get noticed, because if your message is right, it will get noticed anyway. You don't need to target the people. But there's been a bit of hoo-ha around it. Is it great? No. Is it the worst thing in the world? No. In drones, we've had batteries falling out the back of the GoPro drone. DJIs have flown off. It's an issue in manufacturing. It happens. They will fix it. Yes, you've got to lose your drone for a week, I'm sure people can put up with that. At the end of the day, what's important is they're addressing it. They've been open. They've gone out to everyone and said, look, we're going to sort it. We're sorry. And we're going to get on top of it. And what more do you want? What I don't like is there's a number of people just saying things like, go instantly. If you've paid via PayPal, just put a dispute claim in and get your money back straight away. It's not the right way to handle these things. If there's a problem, you're not happy, you want to return it, do it. But instantly filing PayPal disputes can cripple companies. It can actually put them out of business because PayPal will just hold all of the funds and say, sorry, we're not giving them to them. And I do think some people do this to try and have their cake and eat it, which is keep the product and get the money back. But so there's been a bit of hoo-ha, but the feedback I've had on the product is very, very good. It didn't help. They made a software change which reduced the forward speed to try and help it, and that's upset people, but they've reversed that now, as I understand it. So it's been a bit of a probably tough week and a half for Autel.
Yeah.
I got this for testing. I bought it, money. I was going to get the Light Plus that has a very similar sensor, but the one of the issues that I'm looking is a way for this to be as foolproof as possible, and the 6-way collision avoidance made it to go to this one. And the Light Plus only has forwards and back, and I was flying this today, and the 6-way collision avoidance really, really works. So it is damn impossible to crash this on either direction. Not like the Tree Leather company that also has collision avoidance. That last week I've seen one crashing without anything that we could do to an obstacle that was already sitting there, so it didn't come up from nowhere, the obstacle, and the drone just crashed into it, even though it has collision avoidance. So went down for the Tree Leather company, and this one, at least for now.
Well, there's loads of problems with this, but let's quickly go to Sierra Era, because it's the early hours of the morning in India, isn't it? Must be super early with you. Now tell us,
Yeah,
we have butchered your name. We have butchered your name relentlessly over the last few years. Please tell us how to say your name properly.
It's Mallikarjun.
Mallikarjun. Okay, cool. So now, India regulations. What do you think? You love them. You must love these regulations. You must love them.
I must actually, because we manufacture a lot of components for Indian manufacturers. But looking at the ecosystem and other things, I don't think it's a good thing. Because looking at all the semiconductor shortage and all the things that are going on, it's harder to manufacture anything in India. And
So
all this regulation is more of like a lot of manufacturers trying to, block foreign products.
So do you have a core group of manufacturers that really have the government's ear?
We are like one of the few guys who are into flight controllers, GPS, and other CAN-bus devices. But it's like very few concentrating on components.
So right now, they've dropped the pilot license requirements, but only allow you to have, I think, a maximum of 5 drones for research purposes, and you need permission for those. Is that how it stands?
Again, it's more like private guys getting in and lobbying, because there are private entities who certify these pilots now. Now it's called certificate instead of license.
Okay.
So you just have to attend few classes that these private entities put up, and you get a certificate. and that's all you need.
Well, to me, and a couple of people have said I'm completely wrong. I said I think it's a foolish thing that they've done and won't help the industry advance quickly. I think you could have kept the overseas platforms coming into India, but you would still have been building your local platforms, and it still would have been coming, but the whole market would have grown quickly. But now I think it's going to cost an awful lot of money to buy a made in India drone. Sadly, I think it's probably going to be more expensive than buying something from DJI or anywhere else. I don't know if the others want to comment on this, but I just think it's a crazy idea.
I'd like to know how much recreational drone use there is. How many, are we talking mainly commercial drones here? Is there actually a culture of personal ownership and personal use of drones for hobby and recreational purposes?
I didn't get you. You were like too fast.
Oh, I'm sorry. I'll go slowly. How many people in India own drones and use them for their own recreational private purposes rather than commercially using them?
Oh, there are a lot. We were like the highest drone importers at probably in 2019 or something. We have a lot of DJI Mavics and DJI Phantoms. Phantom 4 is like a workhorse for all the survey and other projects in India. And there are no products which would, which are quite similar to Phantom 4. We were not able to make such drones, actually, to be honest.
Well, I think the bottom line is nowhere else. Well, what is like a Phantom 4? Everyone in the world is still wanting Phantom 4s. They're so popular everywhere, even in South Africa. Nobody
like
builds them.
Huge projects in India which are survey and mapping related. Survey of India puts up like huge crores of rupees of, I don't know in dollars, but crores of rupees in mapping village things. So 1 inch.
Oh, a bit broken, I'm afraid. So what has happened to? So on the 9th they announced this. So what's happened to the shops selling DJI gear and Autel gear and all the overseas gear? That's it. Are people worried? Are people thinking, what are we going to do with our Mavic Mini that we bought?
To start with, drones were banned from a very long time. There are no stores. There are no official stores like DJI or Autel which sell drones in India. So it's usually like black market. So everything comes through shipyard and other things. There are no official stores.
But does the community in India think, oh no, that's it?
I mean, they should actually, because alternative to Phantom 4 would cost you somewhere close to 10 times the cost now to make it in India.
Yeah, no, it's yeah. I feel sorry for you. I can't see this is going to be around long. I can't see it is.
But since they have opened up parts as a parts import, I mean, many will exploit that as a thing. They import knockdown version of say some drone and assemble it here.
Yeah, it's quite an amazing thing. Maybe other countries will follow, but I don't think so. Although having said that, I could see it easily happening here in South Africa. I could see it easily happening, and there is basically no drone industry here for local manufacturing. So yeah, if it were to happen, it would be even if they were to say something made on the African continent, there's nobody making stuff here. Nobody.
Yeah.
It just couldn't happen. But stay with us. Well, tell me, what time in the morning is it with you?
It's almost 3 a.m.
Yeah. I knew it was early in India. You've done very well. You've done very well.
it's always like this for me. Yeah, whenever I'm in the chat, it's like 3 a.m.
Yes. It's different to appear though, isn't it? So thank you for coming. So stick with us, and stick your oar in. What else have we seen this week, boys? What else is the big news other than this big Indian news? I think Bruce is going to make another pulse jet. I saw that much, but he's gone now while he's doing that.
He's literally been cancelled.
Yeah.
He's gone. I went down to that Milton Keynes event yesterday, which was very good. It was nice to see some of the drone racing with HD0. It was a really interesting day, actually. I'm going to have I'm trying to look at, I've got 90 gigs worth of footage I'm looking at as we speak to put together. From the racing itself through to the walking around. Not as much actually walking around as I should have, thinking about it. It's one of those things.
So what else was on? So there was some racing. So there was other stuff walking around. What else was there to see?
So what this was, there was an event set up by 5G Vista Project, which is part of the British government's 5G challenge, I think is what it's called. And it's around bringing technology on, and sort of what they're looking at is changing how people view live events in stadiums. And they were demonstrating technology like streaming in the stadium to allow people to get different views whilst watching something live. So for instance, if you're watching a football match and you're at one end and they're at the other, the idea is for you to be able to pull out your smartphone and have access to up to 5 or 6 different feeds, the same feeds that are being sent to the TVs. You'll be able to sit there and look, and maybe even in the future go back and play back stuff. So it's about enhancing the experience in live events. And they did a test on the weekend, and they arranged the BDRA's first race they've had in quite some time at the stadium, which was the MK Don Stadium in Milton Keynes. So it was a full race. It was full digital. It was probably, as I understand it, the first fully digital FPV race held, definitely in the UK, potentially in the world, using HD0 technology. It was an extremely challenging environment. It's a stadium full of metal, steel, and concrete, with a hotel surrounding it, with enough Wi-Fi to sink the Titanic, and you couldn't turn it off. And we had some great people here. It was a great day. Greg from NSRC was down. He was there doing some tests with some antennas, and the boys tried as much as they could. Overall, it was streamed live as well on the BDRA's Facebook page, and guys were watching it. There's been some comments on the quality of the feed, and I think what was really interesting is at the end, the guys tried to fly analog, and it was unusable. So the takeaway from this was the event was a success because of digital. It basically could not have taken place under analog from what we'd seen. I didn't see it personally at the end, but what the others saw when they did try the analog quads. They just.
Were there any DJI systems? Were any DJI there? Would have been nice to see the comparison, wouldn't it? And I'm quite disturbed to hear that.
See it. Yeah.
I'm very disturbed to hear that Wi-Fi sank the Titanic. That's ruined my day.
Yeah. Wi-Fi was what sank the Titanic. It was a boatload of Wi-Fi, not an iceberg.
No.
But I think it was a success because the race went ahead and it completed successfully. And there are people who will argue you shouldn't choose a venue like that if it's going to be difficult. This wasn't about putting something in an open field in the middle of nowhere, standing in the rain. This was about showcasing a product to some very important people, which were there. This wasn't just about HD0. This was about a number of other technologies. I got to meet some very interesting people, and I'm sure it gave some people some interesting thoughts, because in some ways it's a bit like F1. The technology we're using on these drones, we have full HD feed, virtually real time, as close to real time as we can get right now. We got 3 to 4 millisecond control links, and people would just not.
I need to pull you up. And if it's 720p, it's not full HD. That's just HD.
It's
full
HD.
HD.
It's all right.
Details are important in the world of technology.
Sorry, full HD is 1080p.
Says Media. Yeah, Media Lies joins us live walking to the cinema. I need to apply for a job with Philip, actually, because I recalled this morning, funnily enough, on the school run, that I do actually have a projectionist ticket from 1985 when I went on a course, and we know he's got a cinema in his new place, so I should be perfectly fine to work in his cinema. It'd be great. So as a so Media-Lies, you should be. I want to see that rover. I want to know about that rover. That's the most exciting thing I saw on that poster.
I'm going to have to join when I actually get to the office because I can't actually hear. So I'll join again when I get there.
All right, mate.
There's no loss, mate. You haven't missed anything.
It's typical.
But I think Philip was on top of the rover. He was sitting on the new rover.
Oh, driving it. Yeah, driving him there because it's got that board. What else do they call that? The thing that's going to have the lights. The
overboard.
I don't know what it is, but it's got a LiDAR on it as well, and I think that would be the first onboard, all in one with a LiDAR that's about, unless anyone else can think of one you can buy. I can't think of one. There'd only be a range of one.
I'm sure that you're looking for a Segway or something like that, or a hoverboard that already has.
Oh yeah. Oh yes. Do they have LiDARs on them? The Segways.
Oh come on! You just buy one of those $2 sonars and
yes.
your uncle.
Yeah, all right then.
This is the gender reassignment.
Anyway, of those overboards, don't worry with the LiDARs.
Well, I suppose it'd be much like the Hoovers as well, wouldn't it? I guess they've got them, haven't they? So
the Roomba.
The Roomba. I was impressed. Anyway, I was impressed. Maybe I don't get out enough. Maybe that's what it is now.
I think that's it, Gary.
I'm too easily impressed.
Well, you're here. You must be easily impressed.
Yes, exactly. So this event, so you say the event in Milton Keynes, and you talk about the live stream, but where was the link to the live stream? They didn't promote
that
it
was on the BDRA website. Yeah, I didn't really push that. I was there as a guest, so I wasn't involved. I was asked to come down and have a look at and sort of document what I seen. And it was really interesting. It's always good to see these things. What was amazing is the sound of the quads in the stadium. It reminded me of the old F1 V8 days because it was loud and echoey, and it was really good. It really was. A horrible environment RF-wise, frankly, just impossible. But it would have been interesting, as Bruce said, to see DJI.
But they obviously didn't make it. They didn't make enough noise about it, though. They might make enough noise in the stadium.
Is there a recording of the stream? Can we see it on YouTube or something?
The stream is available now. Yeah, the stream is up on the BDRA's website and on Facebook page. Not Facebook page. Sorry,
Facebook. Is it on real platforms? The ones that care about freedom and justice, like YouTube?
It is. You can watch it back. There's like 4 or 5 hours. They had a guy down there. There were some real problems with the feeds in the early part, but we made some changes, or they made some changes based on Greg's advice, and they changed some antennas around. But it was a horrible environment, and the fact the race went ahead was even a success in itself. And, digital looks good. I think some of the pilots are a bit mixed. Interestingly, this was the first time they'd flown digital, and the responses for them mixed from the ones I've spoke to. Some found it very difficult because of the environment, but only when they tried analog at the end did they realize how difficult the environment actually was. It's about benefit. There is this problem with the digital switch at the moment. It's been easy for most general quad flyers because latency hasn't been the important factor. Therefore, DJI have been able to push the image quality aspect, whereas HD0 is very much walking a fine line between latency and image quality. And I have no bone in this race. People have called it analog plus. I don't think that's fully fair, but it isn't as good as DJI. And the question mark is, for many racers, what is the benefit over analog? And that's what it's a genuine question people have to answer. What benefit does digital bring? It's not for me to say what the benefit is. It's for the pilots. And then is the benefit actually not for the pilots, but the spectators? Can we make it look better to everyone else using digital? So it's a complex situation.
It's not really a spectator sport, is it? Let's be honest. I mean, it's not, even with technology, it's still not really a spectator sport.
It's interesting. I think it's going to grow. But as you say, even the biggest series is the DRL and all of them, the audience levels are still not dramatic, to say the least. It's the system does an outstanding job at what it does, but it has limitations. There's this push for HD0 to become the replacement for Next Wave. I don't care. That from my point of view, technology should win. So the best product should win. And if that is still analog, then so be it. Because today, HD0 it's not open source. So it's wrong to say, I want this to be the current system everyone uses, because you're pushing everyone into a closed source system. DJI is closed source. HD0 is closed source. Analog is, but it isn't. You have companies that have a stranglehold on the chipset, but anyone can make analog chipsets.
We've had this discussion before, haven't we? I still think that HD0 should throw it open to the open source community. And look what's done with ELRS and OpenTX, EdgeTX. That produces massive, very rapid change and also very rapid adoption by the community because they have a vested interest in a stake in that particular technology. I think that would do a real service to HD0 if they said, well, we make the chips, here's all the data sheets on the chips, you guys come up with the best you can in terms of software. There'd be multiple forks and all sorts of things, but ultimately everybody would be a winner.
Yeah, and look, there are some people on that camp that won't like me for saying that. I'm not going to sit here and say it should replace everything. I don't agree a closed source system is the answer to every thing. You're swapping one devil for another. People complain about DJI. Well, how is HD0 any different? At the moment they are, but they could be bought out tomorrow. So the system is very good. Whether it will become the de facto standard for racing or digital remains to be seen. Not is, I should say.
So you have inside knowledge from Red Cat? They're going to buy them? Is this happening?
Yeah. I'm glad you said that.
They're buying everybody else.
That's what I was going to say.
I've always had this AD thought in my head, Bruce. Next Wave, I suspect AD wouldn't mind ending Next Wave's stranglehold on that market. And if something
Who's
could
AD? Help me. Who's
analog
AD?
devices.
Oh, okay.
I still don't think the market's that big. I mean, it's really a small market.
Exactly.
It's a tiny market.
Yeah.
I don't know the analog devices. I mean, they make heaps of money from their other, specialist chipsets. I think the fact that HD0 had to actually do this chipset themselves in terms of design and engineering and commissioning shows that AD just realized this is just a tiny market. It's a few amateurs, few people playing around, and that there are other systems based on like OpenHD, based on IP protocols that are going to be much better for most HD video wireless applications.
It's interesting. I spoke to some very interesting people at the event who are sort of looking, and they were very interested in very low latency HD video. And this is a bit of a holy grail right now because it hasn't really existed. But that isn't to say they're going to run into the pocket of that. I was there to document it. I will showcase it the way I showcase it, which is a fair representation of how it was on the day. I still think it did very, very well to allow the race to go ahead based on what I'd seen. And I think, regardless of what people think, it was a success.
Ian,
I'm just waiting for the quantum entanglement, when you have the pixels on the camera are quantumly entangled with the cells and the LCD, and it's like just the delay is very minimal. That's the future. It's the future.
But the thing is, aren't we discussing a niche on a market that is already niche?
Niche, yes, a niche within a niche.
Within a niche. So, what can we bring to the mass, to the general public, to the general population that people can use? People are okay flying with 200 milliseconds latency when they look at their phone. FPV people, it's a tiny crowd on the market of drone users.
I see one market, and that is a wireless virtual reality headsets. That has to be low latency and has to be HD. That's one thing but I don't see this virtual reality thing taken off that much anyway.
But
it's also got to have the quality, Bruce, and it's got to have. There's a lot more to do.
That's the same as Cold Fusion, Bruce. It's
the British have done that. The British are in the league now. They've got 8 seconds or 15 seconds of Cold Fusion. No, that's hot fusion. They could have put it in the fridge and it would have done the same thing.
I don't see this market being HD0's goal. Look, I'll upset them. I upset everyone one way or another. Carl is.
You never upset me, Ian. You never fail to disappoint.
I never fail. Carl is a good guy. But the reality,
we know what to expect.
I don't see this being their end game. It can't be. The finances don't work out. The math doesn't work out on what they're selling today. So if you take it from a purely business process, I think this is you could argue a marketing exercise. I'm not saying they're going to pull out the market, but what I mean is this move into FPV is showcase. It's about demonstrating what a product is capable of, whether it's in its current form or not, to who. And the question is that to a market, or is that to potential buyers, or is that to someone else? That's a bigger question.
Just look at Orca. Look at Orca. They've said they're doing this FPV system, but they're focused on the commercial, industrial, military applications. And if HD0 can use the hobby sector to promote this, they only have to, if for every one military system they sell, to make the same profit, they'll probably have to sell 10,000 hobby systems, because we all know with military systems, you put it in a box and paint it green and it's worth 50 times as much.
At the end of the day, it's a system. It does its job. I have no horse in the races. I don't care what system makes it, as long as it's right for users, and that's the reality. And what's right for users may end up being analog, and in racing, it's easy to overcomplicate things at times. We all want digital. Yes, it's better. Yes, it's this. It has to bring a benefit at the end of the day for people to want to make the change, because the great thing with analog is we've got 20 years of experience behind us in hobby hands, roughly, not just drone, but in sort of when those transmitters became easy to get hold of. Bruce, they were in CCTV when they the 5.8.
When we were using the CCTV ones,
yeah. We got a good 20 years of experience.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, did you see the range test where they did the long range test with the HD0 and the DJI? Was it Vati, whatever his name is? Vazi? Yeah, he's done those. And someone else did a long range test with the HD0, and they got 13 kilometers or something. And I'm thinking that's fine, but you realize with analog, you just switch to 1.2 gigahertz and you can go 100 kilometers.
That's exactly what I'm looking for now. It's my old 1.2 gig stuff. And I must say, Bruce, while I remember to say it, your video on polarization, more of those, please. More. I love that. That's the sort of videos I like. If you haven't watched it, go watch. What's that on RC Model Reviews?
RC Model Reviews, yeah.
Yeah, head off to RC Model Reviews and go and see that video on polarization. It's very good. Vintage Bruce, really. Don't go to his new channel; it's banned.
I can't be anything but vintage now. Look at me.
Yeah. No, it's really good. What's this I'm reading here? Someone help me read this. What's it called? Magic calls.
That's the cold fusion thing. That's the cold
fusion.
No,
that's hot fusion, Leah. Hot fusion.
I see.
It's only 10 to 20 years away. We can rejoice again.
It always is, isn't it? I can't find that bloody transmitter.
Was our friend in India going to say
on the
something?
floor.
I think he was going to. Were you going to say something?
Yeah, I mean, I really feel analog is like a dead end, because when you look at DJI, they're working so much on software compression and designing data packets. I really feel analog is.
Yeah, it's got look. Digital is inevitable. In what form it will be I suppose, is where we're at today. And look, at the end of the day,
digital sucks. Come on,
digital sucks.
Yeah.
It's always one.
Analog for the win, mate.
Absolutely, analog for the win. But the only reason we don't make an analog is because the law. The law sucks. Analog wins.
Why does the law suck as regards? You better unpack that a little bit for people that don't know.
Well, within Australia, you're allowed 3 milliwatts on 5.8 and not much more on 2.4, which does make it a little bit of a pain in the neck. Yeah, so. Whereas we're allowed 4 watts for this. It's a very big gap. Yeah.
I do love Philip Shearling is still in the same disassembled state it was over a year ago when he showed it to us on the channel.
He's changing
for nearly 4 years.
So where's the rover? It's no good holding that up, not showing me the rover. Where's this rover? Come on.
We'll show you the rover eventually.
Oh,
you have to wait for the rover.
Now, just tell me. I just sent you a tweet, but you probably didn't reply. Does it have? Are you going to have a blocks-based language for it as well?
It is just ArduPilot. If someone wants to make blocks for ArduPilot, that'd be great.
Okay. Just
no, come on.
If it doesn't fly, it drives.
Even better, Gary.
Look, I'm just speaking as a flipping teacher. Goodness me.
Well, start teaching them real languages that they're going to use in industry. Like, why teach them blocks when they're going to use C++? Like, just teach them
come on.
Teach them Lua.
No, just go Lua. Go Lua and forget about everything. Come on, Gary. Lua is easy. Start teaching Lua.
We're
Lua,
doing
faster.
We're doing Lua stuff at the moment. We're adding a wind sensor and stuff for a sailboat at the moment. And
why don't you use ultrasonics for your wind sensor?
Because we do have an ultrasonic wind sensor, but it's bigger than the yacht. Like,
Yeah, that would help. Yeah. But I'm going to say some very. This is going to be an evening of me being very thick. How's that wind sensor work when the thing's going downwind?
Well, if it's actually going downwind at the same rate as the wind, then
the wind is
very slow, because it's always going to be a little bit slower than the wind. So
okay.
Yeah.
So all right. Well, never mind.
It's pretty hard to sail.
Gary, let me teach you how to determine wind.
Yes. This much I know. From my ballooning days,
wind. How to do this remotely? That's patentable.
Yeah, I know.
All I know is my complete course of ballooning wind. Here it is for you. Now I'm going to give you the in the complete course. Wind on the back of your head, you're speeding up. Wind on your face, you're slowing down. That's the entire course. That's the whole thing there.
That's pretty much the same logic.
Yeah. So I see. Somebody asked me about sailboats last week, actually. So it's interesting that you.
But you can go faster than the wind, eh?
Yes, they can. Can't
yeah.
They? Yeah. Again, I don't really understand all of that. So you're not going to show us a rover. You're not going to show us that little thing.
I'll show you a boat.
So if he's done a rover, does that mean they're going to bring out a little boat as well? Because if you do a rover...
No, it was there. He just showed it to us. There it is.
But
I think
nothing fancy.
On that new poster, the board's got a LiDAR on it as well. I think that'll be a kind of a first, won't it, for a small single board, all-in-one thing, won't it?
I have no idea. Probably, but yeah.
I can't think that it isn't.
This is why you're in marketing and I'm not.
I'm not in marketing. I'm not. But no.
That explains why there's only 2 people watching the stream.
To DJI. Gary just sells his soul to DJI, and that's all his marketing he can do.
I'd love to know where Louis got this idea tonight. I wish that were true. And
this stream will be banned in India now because you're in DJI's pocket.
We've been sending Louis everyone emails, but taking you out of the loop, Gary, telling everyone that you're now sponsored by DJI. That's what we've been doing, and we've been making up fake evidence.
Of all the people that I might believe that on, I don't think it'd be Gary.
There's a phone inside that device you're holding there, Gary. It's really a phone, not a.
This one?
There's a phone inside that.
Yeah, I don't know what's in that one. No, exciting times there in that with that new post. It'd be interesting. I was unusual of you guys to drop a poster on LinkedIn and get people commenting, and it certainly did get people commenting. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, it's a fun project. Hopefully we get it out the door within a reasonable time frame. When I think there's Elon time and then there's our time. I think Lewis will testify for that. He's still waiting for his pink unicorn. But
yeah. No. So what other news? We're already talking nonsense and we're 48 minutes in. What other news has happened this week that's gone? Obviously, India is the big news. Bruce getting cancelled is the second bit of news. And then what else?
Yeah, Bruce getting cancelled is ridiculous.
It's not. It's not ridiculous. It's the right thing.
Well, look, I mean, it might be the right thing, but that's not what is happening at the moment. The right thing is not the logical thing. So, yeah. But I mean, in Canberra this week, was it this week or last week? I don't know. The weekend, we had a one of those freedom protests there. There was about 1.4 million people turned up. According to most of the media, they talked about 10,000 people being there, and like it was just the population of Canberra is about 500,000 people, so about 3 times the normal population of Canberra, just around the parliament there. There was one guy jumped the fence holding a flag, and there was a guy got his truck window smashed and pepper sprayed. They were the 2 incidences for 1.4 million people at a protest. That's a really well-behaved protest, peaceful. They had their points.
That's better than dinner time here.
Yeah, exactly. And they're not anti-vaxxers. They keep saying that these people are anti-vaxxers. They're not. And I mean, I don't agree with a lot of the people that are there. There are some real nutbags turning up to these protests, but I do agree that nutbags need to get their airtime as well. I mean, heck, look, we're all on this. So, this thing of just you don't agree with what's popular at the moment, and you just get shut down and cancelled, and you have an opinion that doesn't quite agree with whatever the mainstream is at the moment. And the mainstream keeps changing. I think they're back to masks are evil and polluting society and killing the whales now. I mean, a number of these masks that are lining the streets in Australia and down in the waterways, and this is an ecological disaster waiting to happen. And science has come out.
You don't have to buy them; just pick them up and use them. It's great. But with the same, it's the same in New Zealand.
This is the problem, right? So hold up the mask again. Hold the mask up. You got the mask there, right? So here's the problem, right? The problem isn't the mask, okay? The problem is that humans are horrendous creatures that can't put things in bins when they're done with them. That should be the story, not the mask. The humans.
But the mask itself, this is called a disposable mask.
It goes in the bin.
Basically clean when it comes out. You're meant to touch it just by the edges. You put it on.
Yeah.
And if you go like this, you take it out, you get another one, because your mask is no longer valid.
But you put it in, when you're finished with it, you put it in a bin. You don't throw it on the floor. You don't throw it on the seat.
You throw it in the back seat of your car. You let the dog sit on it, and then you put it back on and go, ooh, that's nasty, and continue wearing it.
That sounds like you've had that experience. But in New Zealand's the same. We had these freedom protests in our parliament, and to show you just how bad it is here, right? We had this tropical cyclone or ex-tropical cyclone bearing down on us. We've had a week of rain, and then this tropical cyclone bears down on us. We got all these protesters peacefully, legally protesting, so the government can't evict them, so they're peacefully protesting. So the Speaker of the House said, turn the sprinklers on and leave them on all night to make them uncomfortable in the middle of a tropical cyclone. This is how petty and ridiculous it is. And when that didn't work, he then organised for music, Macarena, Barry Manilow, they had the theme from Frozen to be played repeatedly overnight. And this is how bad our media is. I went to our media and said, that's a breach of the Copyright Act. I bet you he hasn't obtained a license to use that music in a public performance in a public place, which is required under the Copyright Act. I said, media, you need to investigate this. Nothing. They don't want to, because our government has got a $55 million public journalism fund that they hand out to the media organisations who publish what they want them to say. To qualify, you've got to just toe the government line, and it's ridiculous. Any kind of fourth estate obligations.
Hey, smile.
Hey, where's ours?
Tell Michael to go out and start programming.
We know who the new sponsor is.
That's like one of my landings.
So Michael's not going to write the blocks version for that rover, so it is actually useful.
Gary wants to know if we can have blocks for the RGB. What sort of blocks? Like as in like
big ones, little ones, Lego blocks.
Like Minecraft.
No, Lego.
I'm wondering if there's a block to lure engine. Yeah, that might be a good idea.
Yeah.
U-blocks, that's what you need.
All it is that is going to be until grade 9. That is going to be pretty much around the world what children are going to learn.
Whatever happened to Fortran? Where's the Fortran interface for RGPilot? That's what I want to know.
Mobile all the way. Yeah, you know. Logo, yeah. Well, it kind of is logo. It's very much
IBM 370 machine code. That's the way to rock.
M for McDonnell Douglas. There you go. That was a McDonnell Douglas thing he's got there. He's eating very much. No, we are talking nonsense. We've gone to nonsense very, very early.
What do you mean gone to? We've always been talking nonsense.
Yeah, but
those who have just
can't be
arrived.
an awful lot going on.
So, well, was it? It was after last week's show. Was the helicopter and the Mavic 2 Zoom, wasn't it?
No,
that
it
happened
was
after
before
last week's
last
show,
week, wasn't
didn't
it?
it? No, it happened
No.
after last week's show. We saw the video. Did we?
No, Brendan posted it a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, it was a couple of weeks ago. But that was the briefing. That was just not.
Well, they pointed to the video though.
Briefing. Yeah. It's like, yeah.
Basically, a scratch on the windshield, and we're all good.
Yeah, and
pretty much
the big Heron platform being used in Israeli airspace, civil airspace. That was a bit of a kind of a non-story because that has happened in quite a few countries. That's like
exactly
okay, whatever. What else was?
Everyone's looking for a reason to try and get their name in lights again now.
Yeah. Well,
I keep seeing a lot of is it the Coventry drone?
Oh yeah, Hyundai Altitude Angel, and but that's dead in the water because there's no local bylaws that cover a lot of the things they want to do. So if that actually happens, they'll have to change a huge chunk of air law, a huge chunk of the roads. Just highways agency laws. It's just won't happen.
Yeah, even Kaz's monthly mail out was just a plug for a vendor. It was pretty boring.
Silent Arrow again. They're dropping nice shots of one of their machines in the Baffert Hercules. That was mentioned earlier, actually, before you got here.
We got a poster coming out too with that one. So
have you? Oh, that's cool. A big poster. You could put like a little bit of a fin, the actual size of the fin, and that's all that's on the poster as a corner of the fin or something. Yeah, I mean that's
sort of along the lines of the one we did for Mission Go. We're doing one for them. That's a very interesting project because it's RG Pilot proudly all over, but while they're doing humanitarian work, of course.
Yeah, that's what we hope. But the swinging out of the wings on that is pretty violent, isn't it? When it sort of unpops itself as it goes out the back of the aircraft.
Get a job done and get it done fast.
True. Yeah, very true. But I mean, is it complete? I mean, if that fails, then it's a coffin coming down. Yeah. So, do we know of many failures? Chip is going to come on and be abusive soon, and we have to remember when Chip comes. We've got to remember to try and spot whatever his wife has dared him to say on the stream.
Oh, that's
never.
Right.
It's never a failure. It's just impaired success.
There you go.
What was it last time?
I can't remember.
We only figured that out after the show, didn't we?
We did, yes. We did. Only afterwards. So I'm warning you now, when he comes back on again, look out for whatever his wife's dared him to say. And that's what we have to do. It'll be whatever it is. Yeah, but I mean...
I'm not aware of any failures. So far, every flight has been very, very nice. There's been a couple of interesting flights. There was one where it did a couple of loop-de-loops that as it was doing the full recovery. It actually did some nice barrel rolls and loops, and they've got some good footage from that. So that's pretty cool, and it recovered nicely from those.
And another thing I was thinking about earlier, when I was thinking about your rover, was how's the Harrier? When are you flying the Harrier?
So the Harrier that I was working on is going to only be a museum piece, unfortunately, because it has some structural issues underneath the main the rear thrusters. So it's the two-seater. So that was the one we were really hoping to get flying because then we'd be able to actually go up. So there's 3 Harriers in the set. One's a GR3, one's the T4, and then we've got a Sea Harrier. And the Sea Harrier only has 900 hours or something like that on it. It's pretty much a brand new aircraft. And of the couple of thousand parts that were needed to get it flight-worthy again that had been pilfered off it for other aircraft. I think he's down to needing 25 at the moment. But I'm not working on that one because they're planning on making that fly 100% legit. So they need 100% legit, ticketed, current, Air Force guys working on that. So they've actually got quite a crew working on that now. We've got an Aussie pilot who flew. He's the only guy who has flown Harriers in Australia as an Australian. So that was back in 1988. So we're talking a while ago now, but he's the Harrier pilot that will be doing the flying there. So hopefully when that gets up and running, we'll actually have it turn up to a couple of the air shows here, which would be really nice. So yeah, it's looking very slick. It's a very nice aircraft and excellent condition.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are baying for a Sea Harrier to get in the air again. When are they going to show us footage of the Silent Arrow landing? I'm sure there's been footage of the Silent Arrow landing. Oh, and Intel donated ground. Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah. It was done. Some people came with that project from Intel, and all the pieces are together, and it's being developed. So no big news here. So it might become a viable solution for an alternative ground station software.
Yeah, look, I suppose it's another alternative. A lot of work was done, so it's great that Intel has actually decided not to just let it die when their project finished, and to get it to the open source community. So that's cool. Where it goes, well, that's up to the people that decide to actually get involved and do something with it. So yeah.
No time frame on the release then.
No. It is a very big beast of codes, has lots of parts. There were some adjustments that there were pieces that were not open source. So there were some pieces that had to be rebuilt from scratch. And yeah, that's a lot of work still there, although it works nicely.
Very good. Right, I think we have. Has anyone else got anything else? Because I think we have run out of nonsense. Going once.
Well, we've been doing some stuff with our boats. It's a bit of fun. We've been using. I don't know if you can see over here on Michael's desk that Lowrance. Unit. So that's we've got one of them on a jet ski with a radar and all sorts of gear on it, which is pretty cool. And we've connected that to a HearLink air unit, and then on the ground here we have the HearLink ground unit here. So when the boat's out in the harbour out there, we can see everything that's going on out on the boat there through the telemetry on the HearLink. Obviously, we've got all the cube telemetry for the positioning and all of that sort of stuff, but we get the radar and sonar and all that.
And then you're bringing in AIS as well.
Well, we don't have AIS on this one, but yes, you can. The AIS is compatible with it as well. So yeah, but yeah, eventually we'll get AIS as well.
And
so, yep.
What's in the boating world? Because I know nothing. I know the term AIS and I know there's radar, but what do they do? What does the boating world do with all that? And does it end up in a control tower somewhere? And do people take avoiding it?
So like where we are here, there's the Port of Geelong Authority that manage where all the various commercial vessels are. All the private vessels do whatever the hell they want to in between, which is sort of the way that our airspace management should work. The rules are don't get run over by a big ship, just pretty common sense. They have basically a control room for all of the stuff that could cause problems. If a little yacht runs aground, it's just annoying for the people in it. It's not really a big deal. But if a oil tanker runs aground, everyone around the bay tends to get a little bit.
Couldn't a canoe bring down a cruise liner?
I think that's the sort of logic that apparently only applies to aviation for some reason. Yeah.
I don't know why I had I sort of woke up the other day where I just thought, why is everybody else having to be extra safe so that general aviation doesn't have to be? I'm over it now. I'm over this because where I was going to take that was, don't yachts have to have a radar reflector on them?
Some of them do. Yeah, they put if they don't offer their own decent radar signature, they have a little thing up the top that just gives them a good return. Yep.
So it seems like everybody then,
So what you're saying is that multi-copters should have big trailers.
Yeah, great big. Those
wrap them in tinfoil, Gary.
things.
Wrap them in tinfoil.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah.
That would also stop the satellites from reading your brains.
Yeah, no, that's exactly it. Yeah.
So when you wrap your DJI in foil, you're actually doing it to encourage safety, not defeat the geofencing.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly.
We do that a lot.
Exactly right. Exactly. Yeah. No, it'd be very interesting to have an air-ground picture from AIS and ADSB all mixed together and all these sort of nerdy good things. It should be really easy.
And I'm sure you like this one, Philip. A guy that I know picked up DJI, took it apart, and then he deep painted the shell with metallic paints. And then when he put it together, oh God, it does not fly, does not get any GPS. Come on.
I see. If we backpedal a little bit to DJI and the Mavic 3, I see a lot more people are complaining about the GPS lock time and also about color issues with the camera. So it really doesn't seem like a happy launch at all for the Mavic 3.
The GPS issue is acknowledged.
Was the Mavic 3 a preventive launch just for them to stake a claim that they are still there while they develop a Mavic 3 Enterprise or something like that? They didn't have the time to finish it.
And with the GPS issue, hold it up above your head closer to the satellites. It gets instant fix. I've done that.
See, I never.
So take a ladder.
I still never saw it. It wasn't terrible. I think part of the problem is people expect to turn it on and fly. And it's, to be honest, I don't think they really have an issue here. I think they've made a change, yes, compared to others. The problem is many of their previous aircraft would get locked in like 20 seconds. That's not necessarily a good thing, as we all know. And I think they've probably slowed it down for a reason. I still think it's pinging the location of the ground station. I think that's what's behind it.
He's a DJI apologist. That's all.
As for the rest of the aircraft, I wouldn't touch it. It's a very good aircraft, but it is not worth the money. I think
their problem is who their customers are, to be honest.
Yeah.
DJI started with the hobby industry, to build it yourself, all of that sort of stuff. And they had people that either accepted the fact that they were going to build something that could crash, or they had some technical knowledge about them. And as they've got better and better and better and better, they've turned into a community that, well, the hobbyists and all of that aren't interested in them anymore because they don't want it ready to fly. So they've lost that original sort of people, and they've got people that just plug and play and expect it to work the same as their DVD player. Well, yeah. I'm just showing my age. Netflix.
You mean gramophone?
Gramophone, yes.
Wax this, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if you can see the screen behind me there.
What secret are we getting here?
It's very small.
Simulating a GPS location for you there. And
hang on, let's click this and see. There we are. Let's just look. That's the first time I've done that.
The screen is a little bit too wide, unfortunately. I don't think you quite get it. Yeah.
Is that little screen there?
I don't think zooming out's going to help either. It's just this sort of white bit in the middle. Yeah.
Yes.
Anyway, it's over near Ian's place. Yeah. It thinks it's a your place.
How do I get everyone else back? Oh, like that. There we are.
And the question: how do we know where your place is? Because
look
just
at
like
your window, Ian.
Everything you do.
Yeah, it can't be far from me. Where is it at the moment?
It's somewhere in that funny shaped island off Europe.
Oh, right. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I suffered that. It used to be part of Europe.
Yeah, that one. It's off the coast of Europe now.
I had that first thing today. There was someone selling some flight controllers, and they said a Europe release only. So I went on there, got everything in the basket, went to the list of countries at the end, and no, wasn't. Sorry, computer says no.
Hang on. Just to be clear, this funny little island, right, is in Europe, right? That's the irony. It's only the EU project we left. So anyone that goes, we ship to Europe, they are liable in my eyes because they are saying they're shipping to us, right? They should say we are shipping to the EU project. We're just not going to ship to the UK.
No. You're wrong.
You're selling to US.
So hang on. So we'll have managed to get banned for the terrorism, banned for the COVID chat, and now we're going to get banned for the EU chat. What else will we do? We just need to drop it.
Anyone that's banging on about Europe and going, oh, we ship to Europe. We are part of Europe. We are not part of another continent, for crying out loud. You know, it's only the project we said do one.
I mean,
what's people's thoughts on Russia?
You do claim to be part of other continents. You claim to be part of Australia. You claim to be part of North America. You claim to be part of half of Africa.
No, we own
I think you'll find we claim ownership, not we claim.
We own those. That's different. That's different. Very different.
It's a different
kind of different thing.
We used to walk in and put flags down.
It's all about
and India as well, of course.
And America wanted to join the party, and the closest place they could find was the moon.
Yeah.
Yes, for flags. It's a hell of a way to put a flag down, isn't it? Yeah, it is a hell of a journey.
No Americans here. It's just wrong to pick on them when they're not on the show.
That's the best time.
Yes, true enough. This is definitely nonsense. So I'm going to
actually, Gary, I do have a topic for you on the US.
Okay.
And this one is about regulations, the military, and ridiculous laws. Now, obviously, DJI was the first victim of the military deciding that drones are a fun topic to line lobbyists' pockets with money. And DJI were rather targeted there. Now, obviously, if any of you know Kevin Finister, you'll know that he has some pretty good evidence as to why that all happened. However, somehow it's got extrapolated from then to bring a few other things in, and they've just changed the rules in the last few weeks to now include any company with an affiliate or associated entity in China. So that means Apple is now banned in the unmanned systems area to be used as a ground station. You cannot use a Apple Mac or a Apple iPad as a GCS on a military drone. That is against US law, and I hope they're enforcing that, because if they're not, that's exceptions that shouldn't be granted under the NDAA. Basically, they've taken it so far that it's an own goal. I mean, Intel has a China affiliate. So where does this stop? Like they're so getting into the China bad, America everything wonderful, trying to build up this industry. So they've introduced this DIU Blue SUAS. Now, this might be me shooting myself in the foot a little bit, because 6 out of the 11 current Blue SUAS are cubes. However, there are companies that have been excluded from sales into the US. And if you've seen my LinkedIn, I've commented on a few of their things that I sort of stand with them, that the DIU is a bad organization and shouldn't exist. It is targeting specific companies who have lobbied well. And we all know the Swiss lobbying company that I'm talking about. If they are not somehow tied up in that company, it is very hard for them to get through the DIU process. And it's not necessarily about the NDAA and all that sort of stuff. It's about making the right people happy and going through this ridiculously long journey to prove that your technology is now well and truly out of date by the time they actually make a decision. I I like what the DIU started at originally back in the day when Mark Jacobson was running the joint. Unfortunately, another 3-letter agency took over that, and that was the end of that. And now it is just a bunch of pen pushers that wouldn't have a clue what they're doing, making stupid decisions, and actually meaning that US warfighters not going to have the best of the best. And it's stupid, absolutely stupid. It's just extra red tape for the sake of it. And
I have this picture in my mind of the USA standing in a corner with a paintbrush surrounded by wet paint.
Well, would this not then, if we're talking affiliate China, would this not mean then that every STM32 can't be used because ARM have a Chinese?
No, they don't anymore.
Well, it's been annexed, you could argue, but
China stole that ARM. It's no longer.
I think they're still arguing over it, but technically, would this not?
So they've been disarmed.
That
disarmed.
Disarmed.
Good call.
It's all right. They're quite harmless now.
Yeah, surely that would stand for that because they have an official Chinese affiliate. That's their business over there.
Well, many of the STM32s are actually built in China. The reason we've picked the particular ones we use is because they're not. We've gone for so we use the H753 instead of the H743. The only difference in that is we have crypto. The fact that it has crypto means it's not made in China. So there's some differences there, whereas the H743, some of them are put together in China. So, but it's the same technology. It's not like the Chinese suddenly managed to put some extra stuff into the ARM core of an STM in the process. It's not that stuff is not happening, and it's running open source software, blah blah blah. So yes, the rules are far-reaching and stupid. Our blue cube stuff's all good. Our normal cube stuff's all good because we're Aussie-owned, but it's still not fair on other companies that have tried to do the right thing. We're not allowed to call the blue cube made in USA anymore. So the actual reality is that I encourage all American companies to use the cube orange, not the cube blue. Because even though the cube blue actually causes the employment of Americans, there is no strategic advantage from a sales point of view to pay for something that's twice as much, because it's manufactured in USA. It doesn't give you the ability to say made in, because the processor is a French processor, so therefore it's not more than 99% American. They've tightened their rules up so much, as Bruce said. Yep, they've painted themselves into a corner where the motivation to manufacture in USA is actually being ripped out from underneath. We're actually employing people making blue cubes in America, but we're not allowed to say made in America. Like, it's just, actually, we probably could say made in America because they have no claim over that. America's a big place. But yeah, so it's pretty stupid. The American government's being very dumb. And you can't blame Trump. Biden has grabbed Trump stuff and he's run with it and made it even worse. They're just as bad as each other, those two.
You need to do so Apple does designed in California, made in China. You need to go designed in Australia, put together in USA with a French CPU.
Not to be used at time of war because the CPU will just surrender.
Yes.
But this is exactly what India's doing in a lot of ways, and it's not going to encourage development. It really isn't.
There's no long-term goal in it. I mean, we had put all the effort into actually moving the location of manufacturing of Healink. We'd actually gone through the whole exercise to move Healink manufacturing to Taiwan. Now, the main processor is American technology that got bought by a Chinese company, but is made in a Taiwanese factory. So we were going to move it to all manufactured in Taiwan. It would be 100% manufactured in Taiwan. But because that processor was officially associated with a Chinese company, Healink Blue does not meet NDAA anymore. It did 3 weeks ago, but it doesn't now. And so all of that potential, I mean, we're lucky because that was millions of dollars worth of investment that just thankfully didn't happen. because if it had, it would have just been a waste. So the effort to actually move everything to an allied country, that one day America might actually stand up and admit that they're allied to it. But anyway, if we'd put the effort into actually doing that, where's the motivation to do the right thing by the West when they just turn around and bite you in the bum anyway?
Move the goalposts. Yeah.
And DIU will turn around and say, "Oh no, it's not us. It's the NDAA." The NDAA Act specifically got the DIU to make these decisions. So it was DIU that made these decisions, and DIU is to blame for that. And they have been lobbied by, well, we all know who they've been lobbied by, and that's pathetic that a Swiss-run company, after all of their lovely stuff they did stealing from the Jews, are now influencing American politics. So anyway, have I offended everyone yet?
Is it true that you're doing a version of the cube which is half price, but mine's crypto in the background?
So that is sort of true. We have the Cube Red coming. I know we've been saying that for ages. Louis will believe it when it turns up. It's been on the posters for years now. Cube Red.
I made a video about it 4 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So it's in prototype stage at the moment, so it's actually really being made. And it has a huge amount of CPU power that is just sitting there idle. Now, when I say huge amount, I'm talking microprocessors. I'd hate to think of how many cubes it would take with their spare processing power to mine 1 Bitcoin. But, maybe that's a group open source project we could do at some stage where instead of idle, it does mine Bitcoin,
If we can't buy that cube, can we at least get an NFT of it?
Sure, I'll send you an NFT of a picture of a cube. Might be the most profitable thing we did. We joked when we sold the cube gold, we gave it a price of 1 Bitcoin, and we thought that was funny when Bitcoin was $10,000 a coin. And we actually worked out that by the time between when we said that and when we finally got them out the door, if we just instead of put the money that it cost us to do that promo time, we would have made more money than we actually have made selling cubes through our whole time. But anyway, you get that.
I don't understand Bitcoin. I don't understand many things. That's one of the things I don't understand. Many things I don't understand. So countries are shutting borders to drone competition whilst not having actually the technology in place to match it within their own borders.
But even if they did have the technology in place, like of course we could turn up a factory in India and build cubes. We obviously, we've got Sid and his family over there, so we could easily set up a factory, over there. That's easy. We could do that, and we could divide our resources so that we've got an American cube, a British cube, a European cube, because they'd have to be separate now.
But that's not an issue, right?
Sorry, what was that?
Import of parts are not an issue now. It's just that you can't.
Yeah, that's right. Import of parts isn't an issue. We have no problem bringing cubes in, but I mean, if they keep that logic going to the point of where they're sort of
I don't think so. I mean, most of the Indian drones use cubes, so I don't think.
I hope that's true, and I hope they continue to do that. But just sticking with the logic, though, it's just it won't increase innovation. It will just increase ways of finding ways around the rules. It will mean that people just go, okay, we now have to set up a company over there, and we have to do this bit, and we'll manufacture this bit and find where the law level is, and we'll do everything in there. DJI will set up an assembly shop, and they'll send all their parts over, and then they'll start making things there. Same way that Autel have done in USA, which unfortunately for Autel, this new NDAA means they're banned as well. But
I think for India, it was more like to control Chinese drones rather than anything.
But why go Chinese drones? We know which company they're talking about.
Yes.
DJI drones. Like if you're going to target a company, target the company. It's a bit like on communication systems. when they tried to bring Xiaomi down when they took Huawei down. Like, they took Huawei down because they had done bad things and they got caught doing bad things. They had apps, very obvious backends in their systems, and they had Spygates basically in there. So they took that company down, and that's fine. Then they tried to take Xiaomi down, and Xiaomi sued the US government and said, no, we've done nothing wrong, get stuffed. And they got taken off the list, which was good, which was appropriate. I mean, if a company's done nothing wrong, I don't have any objection to the Chinese people. And the Chinese people should not be punished for the mistakes of their government or big corporations. And that should be across the world. We shouldn't be sanctioning people for the actions of their governments. That's stupid, juvenile politics. I'm not going to talk to you or anyone that looks like you. I mean, it's the core of racism. The left wing in the US are saying that they're all woke nowadays while they're bagging the crap out of Chinese people. I mean, it's the biggest hypocrisy known to man. So stop the bullshit, everyone, and just say what you're going to say. India, if you want to ban DJI, ban freaking DJI. Don't ban everyone else. Like, Autel's done nothing wrong, so why ban Autel? Like, other than copy all of DJI's stuff. But that's a matter for those companies to sort out.
That's just marketing. That's
yeah.
What would I know about people copying our stuff?
Nothing
But
at all.
it,
Nothing at all.
this didn't happen,
Well,
right
now
away. But this was there from a long time. Importing of full drone was banned from a very long time. I don't know.
Yeah.
They just like popped up as a news or something. That's all.
Yeah, I do agree with that. I mean, I mean, the reason that we're so popular in India is exactly this law. I mean, you can't import drones into China. We tried to send solo drones back from 3DR times. I mean, that's what, 2015, 2014, 15, 16, around that time. We still couldn't bring them properly into India. So this isn't a new law, but for some reason it's become a popular topic at the moment.
No, they have properly rubber stamped it and aligned it with some other things they're doing. It's quite a big change over there now.
It's
the
also
biggest
to,
news out of India that when it comes to drones, is the fact that they've got rid of most of their drone rules. That's what we should be talking about. The rest of the world needs to start following India on the drone rules. They dumped a whole bunch of them. It's much easier to fly drones now than it ever used to be in India. And the reason they had to do that is because they had the big, Survey of India project where they wanted people to fly drones over the whole of India to actually survey the whole place with drones, which was a little bit hard to do when another department was banning them from flying. So they did have to get all of these organisations talking. But that's a really positive thing.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. All right, I think going once, going twice. Anyone else got anything else? Thank you very much, one and all. We'll see you again, 2100 GMT next week, when maybe some news will have happened. Who knows? Look after yourselves wherever you're in the world. See you next week. Cheers for now. I'm going to click 2 buttons now. Here comes the